We're back. The new edition of Time magazine just out, and the cover story is an inspiring look at how many veterans, American veterans, returning from our wars in Afghanistan and Iraq are working to change this country, ours, for the better. From helping out their fellow soldiers to running for a political office. Time's calling this piece, in fact, it's calling them the new greatest generation. Joining me right now to talk about these soldiers is the Time columnist, the great Joe Klein, who wrote the cover story, and a former Army captain who was profiled in the piece, Wes Moore. Welcome both of you. I want to go to you, Wes Moore, for a first-hand. You are a subject of this piece. You are part of this story. Tell us, if you can, what is it that your generation, coming back from the front, in terms of the duties you've had over there, in terms of trying to bring a country together politically, how that trains you to help back here at home?
Well, I tell you, I was honored to be one of the people who was asked to represent this group of 23 million Iraq and Afghanistan vets who are coming back with some extraordinary skills. I mean, you're talking about people who are coming back. They are entrepreneurial. They are fearless. They're able to look at worst-case scenarios before they even look at best-case scenarios. And fact is, as we're looking at this transition back home, there's not a scenario that these men and women, these non-commissioned officers and officers are going to see when they come back home that is going to intimidate them or make them flinch. These are an extraordinarily brave and courageous group of people, and we're glad that they've chosen to serve not just in uniform, but they're now serving as we come back home.
Joe, how is this war front, both Iraq and Afghanistan, different in terms of training people for their careers back home?
Well, Chris, you know, I've been going over there for the last 5 or 6 years, embedding with American troops, and I've always been kind of amazed by what they do, and most Americans don't know it. They're not just providing security, but they're also going into these towns, and they're becoming the government. They are doing infrastructure projects. They're opening schools. You know, they're paving highways, and they're dealing with the local city councils. And I watch these captains like Wes and also the non-coms, the sergeants and corporals who have to do this. And I say, if they could do that over there under fire, they could certainly do it under, back here. And the great thing that I found out over the last few months reporting this story is that a lot of them are coming back here with the intention of making things better here because they don't like what they see when they get back.
How much big thinking goes on out there on the war front, Wes? I mean, people talking about America when they're over there, when you have time alone, over drinks or over coffee or whatever, at nighttime in the dark when you've got time to kill. Are they talking about the country that they represent in the battlefield, about what they can do at home?
You know, I think the thing that takes up the most time for soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines who are overseas isn't necessarily the larger socio-political implications and ramifications of the work, but we're focused on each other. We're making sure that the person to your left and to your right can get home safely. We're making sure that you're taken care of not just in the battlefield, but then you're also taken care of when you get back home. I mean, that's our focus. I mean, leadership for us really comes down to a couple really elementary elements. You know, one is make sure you're prepared at all times for everything. The second thing is use common sense. And the third thing is take care of your people. Those are things that we live by, and we know that if you can do that, then you're putting yourself in a good position for good success.
Can I just add to that, Chris? Joe, same question.
Yeah, one thing is that a lot of times at night they're out on patrol, and I got to say when they come back from patrol, you know what they do to let off steam? They play war video games. I mean, the stuff they're doing over there is so intense that it doesn't leave much room. Although I have a couple of special operators in this piece who spent the time, between operations arguing Keynesian versus classical economics.
Well, that's a good thing to argue. They may find that useful. I'm still arguing in my brain every night that one. Here's Rick Perry earlier this week. This is a tricky question. Here's something Perry, the governor of Texas, said yesterday about our president, and he is our president, everybody's. Let's listen.
One of the reasons, one of the powerful reasons that I'm running for the presidency of the United States is to make sure that every young man and woman who puts on the uniform of this country respects highly the President of the United States.
What in hell did he mean by that, Wes Moore?
Well, it's funny because I remember someone earlier said to me, they're like, well, he said it once and it's early in the race. But fact is, he didn't say it once. He said it multiple times. So it's not just a slip of the tongue. It's a talking point. And this actually really bothered me because, fact is, when we put on that uniform and we put ourselves in harm's way, we're doing it because we swore allegiance to the Constitution of the United States, and we're following the orders of the Commander-in-Chief, regardless if that person's a Republican or if that person's a Democrat. And the fact is, Rick Perry, as a former Air Force officer, he knows that. And quite honestly, I found that statement to be not only offensive, but beneath the office that he's running for.
You know, I don't get it either, Joe. This guy has not been a left-winger on foreign policy, if that's what bothers a politician like a conservative. He's been for the war in Afghanistan, doubling down there. He's been continuing the effort in Iraq. He got bin Laden. What is there wrong with this guy as a military leader? I can understand arguing about his politics. This was a direct personal shot at a president, and it sounds really nasty.
Well, it does, and the irony of this is that I remember during the Iraq War, a lot of the uniformed military brass were really kind of brassed off at President Bush because he didn't plan Phase 4 of the Iraq War, which is what you do when you get there and you've taken Baghdad. This president does that planning, and I think he's on pretty good terms with the military brass. And the other thing I'd point out was that twice in the last 4 months, he made major decisions against the advice of the military. One was to do the Osama bin Laden raid the right way. The military just wanted to bomb it. And the other was not to do counterinsurgency in the eastern part of Afghanistan. I think that was a wise decision as well.
Joe, thanks so much. Great reporting, great story. It makes us feel good. Wes Moore, thanks so much for your service. Thank you for that. And thank you for coming on tonight.